What's going on, everybody? GemMint here with another Omnibus Haul. We've got some new series Omnis, we've got some pre-release companions and Volume 2s, plus we have some in-store stuff from DC. Before we get started, if you're looking to pick up any Omnibus, any collected editions at all, and if you're in the States, check out our sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com. Bomb-proof packaging, super fast shipping, pre-ordering your favorite DM covers so they're not sold out the day of release. Plus, if you use code GemMint, it'll save you $2 every time. And if you're international, I got you covered as well. ComicsBugle.com. They also have great packaging with eco-friendly packaging at that. Super fast shipping. You don't have to pay for taxes, import fees, or shipping if you're in the EU. And you also save $2 if you use the code GemMint at checkout. So if you guys are looking to pick these books up, those are the spots. And without wasting any more time, let's jump into Captain America by Nick Spencer, Volume 2. All right, guys, coming out on May 22nd, we have the Captain America by Nick Spencer Omnibus Volume 2. This will complete the entire series by Nick Spencer. So let's show what Volumes 1 and 2 look like next to each other. This is how they would stack up on the shelves. The back of the Omni, so again, very similar with the aesthetics. So Volume 2 will collect Captain America Sam Wilson 18 through 24, Captain America Steve Rogers 12 through 19, you have Cap 25. It collects the entire Secret Empire 0 through 10, so basically that whole OHC is thrown into this book. You get Secret Empire Omega, Generations Sam Wilson, Captain America, and Steve Rogers. And you get some material from Free Comic Book Day 2017. We just passed Free Comic Book Day 2024, and you have some material from Not Brand Ech, number 14. $125 cover price. What we're looking at here is the direct market variant by Elizabeth Torque, and then here we have the regular standard cover with that face-off between Cap and Cap. Sam versus Steve. And that's what it talks about on the inside of the dust jacket. Nick Spencer concluding his saga on Captain America, Cap breaking bad, hailing Hydra, Sam becoming Captain America after old man Steve gave him the shield, and of course, again, that Secret Empire event. Then we have a biography on the creators, Nick Spencer, like we mentioned, artists Daniel Acuna, Joe Bennett, Rod Reyes, and Andrea Sorrentino, my boy. We have a beautiful wraparound cover here on the actual hardcover itself. And let's jump into the book here. So you got the navy blue cover pages. You got to love the Hydra helicarriers with the tentacles coming down there. I feel like Ben Temple-Smith would love that. Here we have all the credits. And I guess kind of the table of contents at the same time, right? You got some Donny Cates work on there with Nick Spencer. Shout out to Donny Cates. And then after a quick previously on Captain America, we jump into Sam Wilson 18. Really digging the artwork throughout this series. I know that not many people were a fan of the portrayal of Captain America, but hey, man, after how many years of existence, there's only so much you could do with the guy, right? So he breaks bad, he gets under mind control as he's given back his powers. Is this like the famous panel? Here's one of them. So they catch Captain America on tape saying "Hail Hydra," basically, and that's that iconic panel that you guys have all seen, I'm sure. I don't even know if that took place already in Volume 1. I don't really recall. But yeah, ending that off, going into the Secret Empire storyline. Here is issue 0. They actually made a statue out of this. I think it was a fan art custom piece with the Hydra gear underneath the Cap uniform. Here goes Secret Empire issue 1. Yeah, so that's the big chunk of this omnibus is that entire storyline. I remember having the oversized hardcover. This looks like Andrea Sorrentino right here. Got the Italian artist doing some work on Secret Empire. Here goes issue 4, little Cap versus Iron Man action. So yeah, continuing that run in these nice 2 volumes. Nice to see them complete that. Trying to build up towards Captain America 4. Is it still called Brave New World? I know there was a title change. I think it was a New World Order, now Brave New World maybe. But seeing Sam as Cap on screen, we saw it in the television series, and now there's supposed to be the full movie. So this would be some good reading prior to that. Venomized variant on the back here. Let's take a look at some of the variants and bonus material. So this is the Not Brand Ech kind of Mad Magazine parody. I like these connecting covers. Steve and Sam. Who's that by? R.B. Silva and Marty Garcia. You got the Venomized cover like I mentioned. Some Secret Empire Zero covers. Gotta love Adi Granov. Some Scotty Young stuff. Todd Knott cover. Dang, I like that. It's giving me Loki vibes. Gabriel Del Otto. The painters are my favorites, yo. No More Hydra. So again, I always say this with these like modern Omnis, but man, if you like to collect variants, but you don't like to hunt down all the ratios or they get expensive, depending if it's 1 out of 100 or what have you, the modern Omnis collecting all of the artwork in the back of the book, man. I'm a big fan of that. All right, so I got Kingpin here. The John Tyler Christopher action figure covers. Captain America, Secret Empire. Oh, Storm. Everybody undercover. Galactus as a Hydra plant. Oh, Michael Turner cover. So really for the bonus materials, it's mostly Jim Steranko, mostly variants. Oh, yeah. So you have some tweets within the Marvel Universe, recap page tweets, and another cover. Andrea Sorrentino, he likes to do like a lot of graphic design with his work, man. And there we go. All right, so that's it for Cap. Let's jump into some classic 80s Daredevil by Frank Miller with the new printing of the Companion Omnibus. All right, guys, so coming out on May 14th, along with the Wolverine Volume 5, we have Daredevil by Frank Miller, the Companion Omnibus, and this is the new printing here on the right, which is the DM variant by David Mazzucchelli, and this one is the, I want to say, first printing standard cover. Yeah, this is the first print with the classic Daredevil 227 cover. Now, I got to be honest, man, this was early on in the omnibus collecting hobby for me. Daredevil by Frank Miller, the regular one, and the Companion were one of the first that I bought and that I read front to back. And at the time, they had already had this version out there, and I always wondered why they had this kind of graphic design on a Marvel Omni. It's like the only one of its kind with both the regular one and the Companion, and it just doesn't go well on the shelves with other ones, man. I always wondered what drove them to make this decision. It almost feels like this version is for the casual fan who just picks it up looking at books in Barnes & Noble or some type of bookstore and they see, oh, Daredevil, Frank Miller, let's check it out. Not really a fan of how that looks. You know, for someone like myself who has a whole wall of omnibus, I would much rather go with the classic cover and like the regular trim on the spine. Let me know what you guys think about this design. What do you think compelled them to do that? I'm curious to see what you guys think. So this is called a Companion, which is really kind of misleading. Really, it should be considered Volume 2. I think that the first omnibus should be Volume 1. This should be Volume 2. It collects Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man 27 and 28, which are Frank Miller drawn comics. I think they might just be pencils. And then you have Daredevil 219, 226 through 233. So this would be Frank Miller's return to Daredevil. After his initial critically acclaimed run, he comes back to the character to tell Born Again. Then he has The Man Without Fear 1 through 5, which was actually a script for a movie that never got made. So pretty cool to see how he fleshed that out. And then Daredevil Love and War, which is his collaboration with Bill Sienkiewicz. $100 cover price. Yo, back in the day, this one was $60, man. Inflation is no joke. Let's see how the dust jackets differ. So it looks like it's the same text, but this is the regular cover here. And then you have the direct market cover, which this is the new printing, which is still amazing material, as we'll jump in and see. Yeah, but this is kind of talking about what I was just saying. The original Frank Miller run on Daredevil was 1979 through 1983. He leaves the series, comes back. In 1986, he writes Born Again. He also has the graphic novel with Bill Sienkiewicz, and again, The Man Without Fear. So that's the kind of synopsis of what's going on in this book. And then you have a biography on Frank Miller, Billy S., Dave Mazzucchelli, and John Romita Jr., just to name a few. You know, no named creators. I'm just joking. All legends in their own right. What you do get on this, though, is a nice wraparound cover, which I'm pretty sure the new printing of the standard would have this as well. But I'm not really 100%. The one that I have is like that old school black faux leather look. But the Man Without Fear, I like the evolution, right? You have the original yellow, which you can kind of tell is the yellow costume, and then going into the Frank Miller design. Speaking of Frank Miller design, it's kind of interesting that this omnibus has stuff that he was part of as an illustrator and then stuff that he contributed to, as a writer. A man of many talents, Mr. Frank Miller. Here we have the cover page, table of contents, your credits. And yeah, it gives you the Spidey issues first, then the Born Again, return to the title. You get the Love and War graphic novel, and then the Man Without Fear, the 5-issue series. Intro by longtime editor Ralph Macchio. Classic Frank Miller, Spidey, and Daredevil. I am glad that they put these in here as well. And it's a nice kind of compliment to the omnibus in itself. Like Frank Miller, the man does it all. And I'm a huge fan of Carry On. Maximum Carnage, you guys, if you are watching and you know me, that was like my gateway into comics. So anytime you see like a Maximum Carnage character, like for me, Cloak and Dagger, Carry On, Doppelganger, Demo Goblin, when I see those characters, it always reminds me of Maximum Carnage. So then we jump into the Daredevil main title. He jumps in at 219, and I think he takes a break for a couple issues and then comes back. Yeah, they go 226. I recall reading this stuff, man. This was such an easy read because when I first got into the omnibus game, I had recently gotten back into comics, and my retention wasn't the best. I mean, it's not the best now, but it was way worse back then. But I remember reading Daredevil and just thoroughly enjoying it, loving the artwork, loving the storytelling, loving the Kingpin stuff that it's in this omnibus where you see him training. He's like in a towel, no shirt on, but he's strong. That's like where you see those panels when people on YouTube talk about Kingpin and stuff. These are the issues that they get that from. Like, yeah, he's a fat guy, but he's also strong as hell, man. What is he doing? Shoulder press on 4 plates? So much classic imagery of Matt Murdock here. And again, the battle between Matt Murdock, not even in Daredevil garb. Kingpin's not suited up either. The action that's portrayed in these panels is just really good. Classic Frank Miller Daredevil run. Again, see, Kingpin's naked like in the majority of that run. Here he goes, finally clothed. All right, so great issues from Daredevil. Again, Frank Miller's return to the character. And then I believe it has that graphic novel with Bill Sienkiewicz. After that, he goes in Afterward by Frank Miller. So I enjoy the graphic design. I don't love this dust jacket, you guys. I don't know, man. You guys, again, sound off in the comments on that. So here goes Frank M, Bill S. You want to talk about storytelling through art? You got one of the greats right here, man. Bill Sienkiewicz. It's giving me like almost like Department of Truth vibes a little bit, which, I mean, they would have borrowed from this. And then we have The Man Without Fear. The 5-issue series. John Romita Jr. Great atmosphere in there, right? Retelling the origin of Daredevil. The snow everywhere. I feel like McFarlane borrowed from that too. So I feel like this book gets sold short. Just kind of calling it a companion makes you kind of think you don't really need to read this. It's just a companion. But I feel like Volume 2 would have been so much more appropriate because it's literally like Volume 1 was Frank Miller's first take on the character, and this is like the second and third, if you will. Check out the hardcover image, but in color. Actually gives you a couple more versions of the character. All right, enough blabbing on. It includes scripts in the back, which is great because Ralph Macchio talks about him taking this script and like adding 80 pages to it, kind of just showing his passion for the character and the story that he wanted to tell. Wow, look at these Virgin covers too, man. That's the David Mazzucchelli art. Yeah. DM for the DM variant. So David Mazzucchelli sketches. Am I saying his name right? I feel like I am. It seems like it's an Italian name. Here goes all the scripts again. Pretty cool how they add this stuff, man. Literally a piece of history and how this omnibus came together back in the 80s. All right, some prologue stuff. Pinups, John Romita Jr. Very cool. Great contents, man. Definitely should not be overlooked as just a companion. Yeah, I never understood the graphic design choice with those Omnis, but I'm sure there was a reason. Speaking of graphic design and covers, we have Micronauts, volume number 1, 1 out of 4 different covers, but an incredible series that I just started to dive into. All right, guys, on to Micronauts. This is the original Marvel years, and this is very similar to ROM in the sense that it's Bill Mantlo stories that he fleshed out based off of action figures that are classic, coveted runs, which Marvel are now reprinting in 3 volumes. So they're going to get 3 volumes to get the full story of ROM and 3 volumes to get the full story of Micronauts. Now, this cover is the 1 out of 4 covers. This is the Michael Golden direct market variant, who was the primary artist on the first arc here. This was an unused cover for issue number 1, and I think that's super cool how it finally gets to don the cover in a sense. You know, they didn't use it for the original cover for issue 1, which is also the standard cover for this omnibus. They also have a Butch Juice. How do you say his last name? And they also have a Steve Ditko direct market variant, man. So cool to see Steve Ditko kind of later in his career tackle the 2 annuals that are collected in this omnibus. So speaking of what's collected, we have the first 29 issues and the 2 annuals that I mentioned. This has a $125 cover price. Love the graphic design on this omnibus too. You get kind of inner space on the border here, showing all the covers, showing the Micronauts, and we get that throughout this book as well. The inside of the dust jacket, letting us know what's going on with the Micronauts. Who are these characters? And you learn a lot just reading the introduction here, reading the back of the book, Bill Mantlo, on how his son playing with these toys is what gave him the idea to flesh out their backstory. And man, he really took a little bit of something and made it a whole lot of something with Micronauts. Now, this is the actual hardcover. It's a wraparound cover of sorts with the Micronaut universe. It's kind of like a strand of DNA. They're essentially like quantum realm beings, if you will, right? Like they're super small, and the first issue gives you their origin, all the characters, the good guys, the evil guys, who they are, and then they end up escaping inner space and they wind up on Earth. Before we get there, so here is the table of contents and the credits, and again, that nice aesthetic throughout this whole omnibus. Great introduction by Chris, is it Ryal? The concept art by Bob Hall. This was a great read, actually. The map of the home world. Here is the Micronauts galaxy, I guess, if you will. It's kind of like their Milky Way. Here's issue 1, which was by David Cockrum. That's who they went with. Great cover. And then you have the introduction on Homeworld. So Micronauts. What's cool about Micronauts, now this is before my time. I didn't grow up with them. This was like a late 70s kind of thing, which I dig. I mean, I love the Bronze Age. I love the art style here. The dialogue could be a little bit chummy, for lack of a better term. But what's cool about the Micronauts is that they tease that they're heading to Earth at the end of issue 1. And when they are headed to Earth, fans are wondering, like, is that the same Earth where the Marvel 616 is? Are they going to be bumping into Marvel characters? And they do, before we get there. So they're Micronauts, even though they're not in like inner space anymore, they're still very small. So they're based on these little action figures. One of the things about the action figures were you were able to like mix and match parts with other ones. So Bill Mantlo kind of took that and made like this kind of dark lore surrounding that on how the evil bad guys in this universe are able to accomplish that and to grant immortality, but basically like harvesting body parts. So they're super small. The lawnmower's a threat. The dog is huge. And what happened, oh, here's the bad guy. So the bad guy too, his name, Baron Karza, is actually the last name in reverse from competitors who are making action figures that rival the Micronauts. There's a lot of cool background to Micronauts. Anyway, what's cool is at the end of issue 6 is where it's is it the end of issue 6 or 5? Yeah, it's the end of issue 6. So you're reading this, they're world building, you're being introduced to so many different characters, this whole universe, this battle that we didn't even know what was going on a microscopic level. And at the end of issue 6, they tease that they're going to run into Man-Thing. And then boom, they run into Marvel character after Marvel character. Man-Thing graces the cover of issue 7. Then you get Captain Universe. The Micronauts go on to have a mini-series with the X-Men. And it's kind of cool that they took this franchise, these action figures that were produced in Japan. And what's funny is the size of the action figures, they were smaller. And they were produced out of just necessity in Japan at the time, with being able to do larger scale figures. So they made these smaller figures, no backstory really. It did actually inspire a manga back in the day, but then Marvel was able to obtain the rights for comic books and flesh out this universe. And there is a hardcore fan base, just like there is for Rom and the Space Knights. So very similar vibe to Rom. If you guys are into that, it seems like it would be right up your alley. You know, same writer, same kind of vibe with a different group of people and different origins and things of that nature. And then again, just like Rom, intermingling with Fantastic Four and with the Marvel heroes. Oh, this must be the Ditko stuff. Yeah, so Ditko, you know, Steve Ditko wasn't going to do stuff just for the hell of it. That's not Ditko. But for him to do the art for the 2 annuals, man, it had to be something special. This was also right off of the heels of Marvel doing Star Wars, man, which issue 1, I think it came out a few months before the movie even. So like they didn't even realize what kind of an impact that was going to have. All right, let me find that annual real quick. Actually, now I just remembered it was on page 252. Shout out to the Alien Symbiote. Yeah, so here we go. Annual 1, Steve Ditko and Bill Mantlow's story. So you know it had to be good for Steve Ditko to be like, you know what, I'm down to draw a few issues of this thing. So that's the Steve Ditko stuff for the annual. And then, like I mentioned, he does the second annual as well. Oh, then they started doing Tales from of the Microverse, kind of just like Rom, where you had the main story going on for Microverse and the main story going on for Rom. They started doing backup stories to really flesh out individual characters and also add to the overall lore. Letters pages are collected here. That would be a trip to go read the letters pages after issue 6. They're going to be like, wait a minute, what? They are part of the Marvel 616 or the Marvel Universe. I don't know. I'm not sure when that term was dubbed, the 616. All right, here we go. The second annual with more Steve Ditko goodness. Very cool. I can see why Rom and Micronauts have the cult following they do. I love the artwork. I love like this switch out to the horse torso, the Minotaur vibes. Epic space saga type of stuff. It's giving like a Transformers vibe as well. So definitely a fan of both, man. Like I cannot wait to see this whole series collected. And also what they did was the promotion, man. The Micronauts are coming. Not if I can help it. Yo, Michael Golden and the house ads really helped garner a lot of hype for this run prior to its release. Original house ad. This is the original art, and this is what showed up in comics. Here's the Man-Thing cameo, the Not Brand Ech, which we actually just saw in an earlier omnibus, right? More original art. And then Michael Golden, he was relatively new at the time. I think this was like his first major work at Marvel. But Bill Mantlo was already a legend in the making. So some great bonus material. Man, I get it. I get why people like the Micronauts. Yeah, again, see like the whole graphic design of this book, really well thought out collections. And it's the first time that this stuff has been collected like this. I was reading some of it, and some of this stuff hasn't been printed since it was in original comic form. So that's volume 1. We got 2 more coming. This video is brought to you by Bad Music issue number 1. Following the battle at the Ninja Funk Dojo and the capture of BB, Bad Music retreats to their headquarters at the Nexus. With the love of Laser Wolf's life as irresistible bait, there's no doubt in Queen Bad's mind that her nemesis will come knocking and she's ready for them. Will Laser Wolf, JPG McFly, and Wolfgang see the trap for what it is or run headlong into disaster? Find out in Ninja Funk Bad Music number 1 in stores on May 15th. All right, with Marvel out the way, we're free to look into some DC Omnis, and they're both from the Rebirth reboot. We're going to start with Josh Williamson's Flash with the Flash Volume 1. All right, here we go. So, Volume 1. At first, I was like, how is this not a Volume 1? Because the spine doesn't say, oh, I just now finally caught it. I was looking over here for Volume 1 because Joshua Williamson did like over 100 issues for Flash during the Rebirth era. And this is Volume 1, so now that makes sense. All right, this collects Flash Rebirth issue number 1, then the first 35 issues of the series. It has Batman 21 and 22 because this ties in with the button for that 4-issue series. Also collects Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps 32, Justice League 32 and 33, and a story from DC Holiday Special 2017 issue number 1. $125 cover price. Inside of the dust jacket, is that Godspeed? I forget. First appearing in this run, created by Joshua Williamson. You have Carmine Di Giandomenico and Howard Porter on the book as well. We get a biography on them here. And we have a wraparound cover on the hardcover. You have Wally West, Barry Allen, and this is essentially the Flash Rebirth Omnibus. The return of Wally West, the rebooting, post the New 52. And this is actually my first introduction to Joshua Williamson. I mean, I have heard of Nailbiter, but I never read it. I was never really a horror guy. But I remember picking this up. I think it was around the tail end of The Flash, reading them for the new Comic Book Day reviews. Here we have the table of contents. We have the credits here. Love the fact you get the page numbers, but in typical DC fashion, I don't think the page numbers are printed anywhere on here. So I guess if you want to get to 427, you're going to have to do some counting. But I do like how it has the title of each issue and what issue it's from and when it was published. Beautiful introduction by Joshua Williamson. Let me tell you something. One of my favorite creators that I've met, man. This dude is so full of life. He you know, I'm at the age now where these guys are my peers, man. When you're reading comics as a kid, the creators are older than you, but this guy grew up on the same stuff that I grew up on, you know? So it's super cool to see his passion, and it bleeds through the comics. I mean, how else do you write 100 issues of Flash? So here we jump into the Rebirth issue 1, and then we jump into the new story. You know what? I feel like I did read, actually, from issue 1, now that I'm looking at the front here. Yeah, so what was I talking about? Joshua Williamson doing a lot of stuff right now with the Energon universe too, so big fan of him. He writes his ass off. So anyway, here we have the Rebirth Flash stuff. I mean, it was selling good, man. Like I said, it did over 100 issues. Here we go with the Omnibus. They brought, of course, your staples with Captain Cold, and I mentioned Godspeed as a new villain created. You got Reverse Flash. Here's the button stuff. So what is that, Jason Fabok? Yeah, but and then here's your classic, Fabok button part 1, which I actually read and reviewed that oversized hardcover, if you guys want to check it out on the channel. But yeah, man, so I guess this is going to have to take like 3 volumes to complete, if not 4. But very cool to get this collected. I mean, again, it was like a critically acclaimed run. You had new characters that were created in here, bringing back the Flash family. I mean, Rebirth had brought back Wally West, but his family, that had been gone from comics for like years. So Joshua brought them back. Here's a little tie-in to some metal and death metal stuff. Because again, this is the Rebirth era, which would lead into that. So here we have a tie-in with what looks like metal. That's probably those Justice League issues. We get the first volume here, and then we have a variant cover gallery, which again, I'm a huge fan of, getting all the artwork. It goes Godspeed and Flash. Got a lot of great covers. Jay Garrick. And it looks like we get some, oh, look at this connecting cover. Dark Knight's Metal. We got some character designs by Carmine. Goes Godspeed. Goes Reverse Flash. Pencils for the button. Very cool, man. And it looks like I saved the biggest for last with the Justice League Dark Rebirth Omnibus by James Tynion IV and Ram V. We have Alvaro Martinez Bueno and Raul Fernandez, the Justice League Rebirth Omnibus. And man, DC is like, you know what? We're not going to make it an omnibus unless it's like 6 inches thick, man. They only do big boy omnis. So this looks really good with the Justice League New 52. Let me just bring that up. Yeah, so I like how they decided to match this up with the Justice League Dark from the New 52 Omnibus, and now we have the Rebirth following the events of New 52, or the reboot, if you will. So, James Tynion IV putting together this new team for Justice League Dark. You've got Wonder Woman, you have Detective Chimp, Swamp Thing, Zatanna, and Man-Bat for a little razzle-dazzle. Collecting, this is hard to read from where I'm looking at, the first 29 issues. It has the first annual. You get the Justice League Dark / Wonder Woman, the Witching Hour 1, Aquaman 66, Black Adam Endless Winter Special. Oh, I remember reading that one, actually. That was good. You get the Flash 767, 777 through 779. Then you get Justice League 58, 72 through 74. Their Endless Winter, which was 2 issues. Superman's Endless Winter, 1 shot. The Teen Titans Endless Winter Special. Wonder Woman 56 and 57. The Witching Hour issue 1. Collects a bunch of stuff. And this has a $150 omnibus, of course. This thing is huge. The inside of the dust jacket just has a biography on all the creators. So Tynion, Ram, Bueno, Raul Fernandez. Who else do we have here? Amanche, Sumit Kumar, Brad Anderson, Romulo Ferraro Jr., and Rob Lee. Man, love the aesthetics here on the wraparound cover. This is a Clayton Crane piece, right? On the left, and then Greg Capullo on the right. Looks great, man. So you have kind of like a wraparound cover. Yeah, it is wraparound, but it's the team both times by 2 different artists. Let's open up this phone book of an Omni. Do kids these days even know what phone books are? All right, so your cover pages, Justice League Dark, the Rebirth Omnibus. Then we have the table of contents, the credits. And then we get an introduction by James Tynion IV, telling us why he wanted to do this book, why he chose the team that he chose, and he had great reasoning for it. So if you guys read Metal and Death Metal, Wonder Woman comes out as kind of the main player, and she puts together this team because in the DC universe, magic is broken. So she needs to put together a magical team to unbreak it. Where there's Swamp Thing, of course, there's John Constantine, so he does help out as well. So does Dr. Fate, although they're not really on the core team. But on a mission to mend magic, and James Tynion, he talks about not really being a horror writer, although I do like the kind of, whatever you want to call A Nice House on the Lake, kind of a suspense horror. But him talking about why he chose these characters, they all had their certain reasons, and then putting Man-Bat in there kind of really just for the silhouette. Like, he was talking about Scott Snyder's advice. Like, if you're going to put together a team, you got to have that character that stands out so you know what team that is just based on the silhouette. And he was going to go Clayface, but he actually had wanted to do like this tragic Man-Bat story for some time now. So he decided to make Man-Bat the last member of the team there. So, yeah, magic-based team. This is the corner of the DC universe that we're in. Thick boy omnibus, self-contained, no volumes 2 or 3, so you can just jump into this and get the whole story. If, you know, I want to say it follows the New 52 omnibus, but you don't have to have read that to read this. Great dark artwork here. Yeah, check this out. What you would expect from Justice League Dark. Some Etrigan the Demon sitting in the Watchtower with the Justice League. I remember really enjoying those Endless Winter. I guess it was an event told through those one-shots. But yeah, so here we go. Let's see what we have in the back. I think we have just variant covers. You got the making of Justice League Dark, the Rebirth era. So this is James Tynion breaking down this story. Some great stuff to have. Here goes some designs for the different teammates. Pencils and inks. Some more designs. More biographies. All right, guys, thank you so much for checking out the haul. A lot of great material in this haul. It doesn't look like that big of a stack, but it really packs a punch. Let me know your favorites in the comments down below. Are you picking any of these up? Are you passing? If so, let us know why. And stay minty fresh. Peace.